What's going on, everybody? Welcome back out to the garage. We're staring at the 400. If you saw the first video where we attempt to start this behemoth, you know that we were not quite successful. That said, we're gonna give it another go. We know we were close. Now, lots of people had lots of good suggestions, and I appreciate that. And of course, there are factors. Let's be real. It's not a short list of factors. So what we are going to do first, this is the spare race starter. I had to dig that out of the trailer. I'm going to put that on. We're going to give it a whirl. And for those of you that run these, if you haven't found this bracket for these starters, you have to find them. And I wish I could remember exactly where I found it. I'll look for a link. And you can never have enough, because I run mini starters in just about everything nowadays as far as the old stuff. And to take the carburetor a little bit out of the equation, starting fluid with upper cylinder lubricant. So we're going to try that. Sorry about that. And if all that fails, I have this. It's an old Edelbrock 383 Streetmaster intake and a Carter AFB 750 carb. Honestly, all that business, probably too much for what this motor is capable of. I think we're in a position to give this a whirl. So this mini starter, my backup starter for the race car, well, I'm glad we tested it. I put it in there and it just zings. I don't know if this thing's bad or what, because I can bench test it and it appears to function properly. You'd think if it was attached to an engine, you'd have crankage. We had no crankage. So I pulled this sucker out. I've got way too many of these, by the way. And slow crankage, really bad. So I found one more, bench tested that, and it seemed to zing over good. So I think these other ones are just old and worn out, in need of rebuilds. They function, just not well enough. And, you know, to make sure, because I know we had battery comments, the battery's been juiced up, guys. And it was in pretty good shape before. So I've reset timing, prepared to advance should we need to. And I'm going to hook everything back up. Let's see what happens. I'm going to turn the battery charger on and give it a few extra amps just for added whatevers. For added, yes. Woo! And of course, safety first. Don't ever stand over the top of this thing. You want your hair, you want your eyebrows, unless you don't have hair, but you do want your eyebrows. Okay. We're close. We're close. That's a little better. Headed in the right direction. Maybe slightly too far the wrong way. And burning off starting fluid. That's the sweet spot apparently. It is hammering this battery though. I'm not giving up, but something's still not quite right, other than my redneck engineering here. Got literally half the pipes are warm, the rest flat out cold. It might be time for a set of plugs. Either that or we got some dead holes, period. Maybe a compression test too. I think it's trying on at best about half the cylinders. So yeah, I think I'm going to try that compression check. So I wanted to do a compression test. Got this a museum piece compression tester that I've been trying to use. Does not seem to be functioning at all. Either that or the two holes I've tried are completely dead. It lit, but it obviously is going to have a lot of problems trying to stay running on 4 cylinders, which that appears to be where I'm at. I'm going to try and actually do a legitimate compression test on this engine before I move forward. A drop. That's a little bit more than a drop. Seeing some leakage down the side of the block, and it does appear that it's coming up out from the valve cover gasket. So I'm not so much concerned about that, as opposed to mentioning that, hey, it looks like we've got oil pressure. Well, let's clarify and say at least we have some movement of oil, which would imply pressure, but to say how much, we don't know because I don't have a gauge on it. But yeah, I see 100 on the tip of that needle there, and when I hit the button, pressure goes away. So it looks like we got a halfway decent hole in number 1, number 2. Number 1, number 3 and number 5 appear to be big fat zeros. Might as well hit the rest of them. So I went through and tested every hole, basically. That sounded weird. I went through and tested every cylinder, and the entire even side, all above 100, about 110, somewhere around 110 to 115-ish maybe. Cylinder number 1, cylinder number 7, same situation. They're both testing over 100, probably in the 110 range on PSI. Cylinder 3, cylinder 5, not registering anything at all, completely dead on the meter. They appear to have no compression. So for fun, I took the valve cover off. Wanted to check and see if anything looked weird there, and to the naked eye, no. Everything functioned, everything turned over, and this gross oil looks like it is making its way through the system. So I don't necessarily suspect the valves at this point. Looks like a ring issue. Cylinder 3 and 5 have gone kaput in the compression department. So I'm going to make some decisions, I think, on this. Might go to the builder pile. Probably where we're at. I have always wanted to build a stroker. So I think with that, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'd call that success, at least in progression from episode 1. We did get it to fire, which was cool. Sounded awesome for half a second. I suspect throwing plugs at it will help. We've got some slugs that don't, or cylinders that don't appear to be firing. So I'm suspecting, you know, dead spark plugs on those. We definitely have 2 cylinders that aren't making any compression at all. So we've got essentially a heavy 6-cylinder right now. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate all the suggestions on part 1. I think this is going to the builder stack. Thanks for coming along with me. The 400 started briefly. It would not run. There's other issues. I mean, compression in 2 cylinders, probably the number 1 issue now, because I think we've got timing really close. I mean, I could throw spark plugs at it, but compression in those 2 holes, we've got some dead cylinders. I mean, if I had compression everywhere, I'd throw a set of spark plugs at it. Probably even at that point swap the intake and carb off. This one, you will see this again in a future project, a future video, so don't sweat that. We're not done with it by any stretch of the imagination. We do need to get busy on some other things. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next one.